respectfully ask that you allow them to answer the questions that have been given. And once we've concluded with the press conference, if you would like to have individual interviews, we can do that upon request. So now I would like to introduce Dr. Janice Everson, who is superintendent of our Humboldt City Schools.
Say good morning to everyone, and to the media. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for caring enough about our community and about our schools to take some time out to cover our press conference today. The one thing I want us to remember is that as adults, we have to know that schools are safe havens for children. It's just places that they know they can go and they can always be safe. We can't taint that image for them as adults by doing things that is unbecoming of adult actions. While we try to educate our students in a safe and nurturing environment, sometimes unforeseen circumstances can alter processes and procedures. I would like to reiterate the fact that Humboldt did not have a school shooting. Humboldt had an unforeseen accident at an athletic event that turned out to be a tragic. Sometimes community members and students witness unfortunate things, and this happened to our babies on Tuesday night. Preventative measures have been discussed for future athletic events, including heightening our security and our monitoring at athletic events. Today, we have welcomed back our faculty, our staff, and our students, and each administrative team either conducted an assembly this morning or had some one-on-one meetings with kids who decided they needed some assistance. And we were just trying to look at the social and emotional and the physical aspects of our students as they returned. We put a QR code last night on each website, and we had students to go on to enter any question that he or she might have been dealing with, or just some concerns they may have been facing, and the counselors were able to get that, if there were any, to look at those before the students returned today. I do want to say thanks to our fellow superintendents in our neighboring Northwest Division and neighboring towns who reached out and or sent social workers today or counselors today just to be a part of our community and share the pain that we are experiencing this morning. So I thank Milan, Haywood, and South Gibson. We really appreciate that. As we move forward, we will continue to be transparent with our families and always strive to provide a safe and nurturing environment for our students as we educate them. So Ginger, do we take questions now, or we're going to do it later? Okay, thank you so much, and this is my team with me. I do have a board member with me today. I have my safety project manager with me today, my family and resource member with me, and I have some pastoral leadership with me today, Pastor Montgomery, Pastor Hodge, and Pastor McFadden, and we just appreciate all of the support that you all are giving us. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Assistant Chief Dan Abels for the Humboldt Police Department. First of all, the Humboldt Police Department would like to extend its condolences to the family of the victim. That's one of the first things I wanted to say this morning. The Humboldt Police Department also would like to thank the assistance we got from all the agencies around Gibson County, Medina Police Department, Madison County, the TBI, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. Man, we really appreciate all the help we got during this event. We're going to release some information. I already have released some, but we can't release everything. It's obvious that there's things that we have to keep for the trial that is to come, and we may have to explain that a little further.
Still ongoing investigation.
It's actually an ongoing investigation, okay? On Tuesday, November 30th, at approximately 8:20, Humboldt officers responded to the gymnasium at the Humboldt Junior Senior High School in reference to shots fired. Officers located 2 gunshot victims in the concession area, and unfortunately, one of those victims had already deceased. That victim was a 21-year-old male Justin Kevon Hankey. Officers also found a second gunshot victim. That was 18-year-old Xavier Clifton of Jackson. He actually had life-threatening injuries, was taken by helicopter to the trauma center in Memphis. And our last update, he was in critical and serious condition, but he's still alive, which is a good thing. A third victim actually was reported to us, Dontavius Cross, age 19. He was taken by a personal vehicle, family or friends, to a hospital in Jackson, but he was treated with non-life-threatening injuries. Our investigation has identified the shooter as being 18-year-old male named Jaden Devon Hardiman of Jackson. Charges have been filed. He is in custody at this time. List of charges in there. I'm going to allow the DA to actually list the charges that have been filed against him. This time, I'm going to turn it over to him.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Frederick Agee. I am the district attorney for Gibson, Crockett, and Haywood counties. Our office will be prosecuting this matter. First, I want to echo everyone who's already given a brief statement. I want to thank law enforcement. I want to thank our first responders. I want to thank some of the school staff that's here today, Mr. Athletic Director. This could have been a very chaotic scene at the Humboldt High School. They did a great job of preserving the crime scene, given the fact that the high school basketball game was going on. There was, I don't know how many people in attendance, I would think several hundred. But they did an awesome job. They worked together, they were professional, and it could have been a very different scene at Humboldt High School on Tuesday night, but the professionals that they are, they did a great job of keeping order and also processing the crime scene. So I want to thank the Humboldt Police Department, Gibson County Sheriff's Department, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, all the other law enforcement agencies, first responders that responded to the scene. Also want to let the victim's family know that our hearts go out to them. They're in our thoughts and our prayers. This was an unfortunate, violent criminal act that happened on a school property, which is a gun-free zone. Ladies and gentlemen, make no mistake about it. Our office will fully prosecute this case to the full extent of the law. It is our intent. It will be my mission as the DA to make sure that Jordan Hardiman never walks as a free man again. We will not allow violent criminal acts to take place in our schools in Gibson County. There were several hundred people that were doing the right thing in the gym. The basketball players doing something positive, the cheerleaders doing something positive, the coaches, the parents who were in attendance. And we had violent people come into our community from another community and commit a violent act. So we will prosecute this matter to the fullest extent of the law. With that being said, Mr. Jordan Hardiman is being held right now currently on a $1.5 million bond. Our office has asked the judge to reconsider that bond and revoke the bond pending a preliminary hearing. We do think Mr. Hardiman is a threat to the community, and we want to keep him in jail for as long as we can. He's been charged with first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder with serious bodily injury, attempted first-degree murder. He's also been been charged with employing a firearm during the commission of a dangerous felony, tampering with evidence, and bringing a gun onto school property. Again, I want to thank our law enforcement. I want to thank our school staff members. And we want to send out our thoughts and prayers to the victim's family. And with that, I think we're going to start taking, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. With that, I'll introduce Humboldt Mayor Marvin Sykes.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, all. You know, as the mayor of this city, I just basically want to assure everybody that our city is safe. This was a very violent act that happened on city and school property this week. But, you know, all of our agencies worked so good together that night. It was unbelievable how everything come together as one immediately. Because we had people there that we had to protect also. We had the innocent bystanders. But as the night progressed and I kept getting updates from our police chief and others, this started blowing up on Facebook and other social events. And it was unbelievable of the support that Humboldt, Tennessee was getting from the surrounding communities and people that lived in Trenton and Medina and Mile. It was unbelievable. It just touched my heart that the love and the prayers that were coming our way. It just made me feel like there's something new here. There's something new here. It was all about love and caring for our fellow man and woman. It carried over all to the next day. I talked to Dr. Everson that morning early. I was in tears, I'll tell you, because the feeling that I've got about community was unbelievable. It was a miracle. And it sort of helped me get through the morning. It was just wonderful because we have so many wonderful communities in Gibson County. And Humboldt's one of them. We love our people. Nobody there that night wanted anything to happen like that. They was there for the wonderful basketball game and support our Vikings and support our city and support our school system. And to me, I just want to let our citizens know that you're safe. Our people's still out there working. They work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Our police officers and our first responders, they're here to make sure you're safe. That was just an unfortunate, violent act. I'm not going to sugarcoat it because it is what it is. It was the death of a young man. Violent death. We didn't ask for that to happen Tuesday night. We don't want it to happen. If you see something, say something. If you see something that don't look right, say something. Go tell an adult. Call 911, do something. Because we do not need to tolerate this kind of violence in our community or any other community. If you've been watching the news lately, there's something going on in Michigan. You see that one. Violence. We don't need to tolerate that. So today, I just ask everybody to keep our city in prayer. Keep sending us that love and support that we need in our city. Our young people, can you imagine our young people? They do not know how to handle death and violence. They don't know how to handle it. They just know what they hear. We just need to make sure we support them in every way we can. And we don't want to let this violence dictate what Humboldt, Tennessee is all about. We do not want you to stay at home tonight instead of coming to the Christmas lighting on Main Street. We want you to be part of the wonderfulness that's in our community, Humboldt, all of our communities in Gibson County. So saying all that, I just want you to keep us in prayer. Keep thinking of us, Humboldt, as the most wonderful place that you could ever visit. We are in charge here. We got it going on. That should be the end of my speech. Thank you.
This time we'll entertain questions. Just raise their hand if they want to ask a question. And
So for either police or school officials, can y'all just kind of talk about like how, y'all were talking about, the AD was talking about how the scene stayed relatively under control. I mean, I'm assuming you had a few hundred, maybe a couple thousand people in there with 2 dead bodies in the hallway. Can y'all just talk at all about just how that stayed under control?
So correction, 1 dead body.
Or, I'm sorry, yeah.
Not thousands of people, probably close to 500, that's including the players and the cheerleaders. We do have a safety manager, Mr. Victor Horton, if you'll come and join me at this time. We have been working on practice intruder drills just for the school and what that looks like. So our students have been trained to do what is directed or instructed of them by the authorities or by the adults in charge. So as soon as the incident happened, they were directed different places and they confirmed. So Victor, you may want to add to that. You have something.
Well, what we do is, state requires to have intruder drill once a year, but we've done it 3 or 4 times already. That's one of my main concerns, is for them to practice enough that in case it happens, they are familiar and understand what they need to do for safety purposes.
So was play going on at the time when it started, or was, because I heard it was at halftime?
It was
It was
halftime.
Okay.
Superintendent, you mentioned there's counseling services for students. Can you share how many students have requested these services and how long social workers, you mentioned they're there today, will they stick around, and how will students be able to get a hold of them if come next week they would like to speak with somebody?
Okay, so we currently have social workers and counselors on our campuses at school, like every day, without this incident. And then the added that we have now, they're given to us today because we accepted that request from their superintendent. But we will have our social workers readily available, and we also have other agencies who have reached out to us. So we might just very well have another group to come in. They won't have the same group of outside individuals daily because they have jobs themselves and they have to get back to those responsibilities. But there are enough people who have reached out to us that we will have someone for them every day. So I'm not really sure how many students reacted to the QR code and had a question. However, I am sure that when I was at the assemblies today, some of the kids were pretty emotional because it's a small community and they were related to Justin. So they were taken to a private area by either a counselor or a social worker and met with them today. They are available all day today. The teachers know the process of getting those students some assistance, and we welcome that. We are going to, we have taken out the state testing for this week, and we'll start that back on next week. So we do have the flexibility of allowing those kids to have their social and emotional needs met today.
And then I have a question for the DA or Assistant Chief. Can you comment if the shooting was targeted? We've heard that there was an argument between Hardiman and others. Were the 2 victims involved in those arguments? Can you comment on any of that?
I'm Lieutenant Tony Williams. I'm the lead investigator in the case. At this point in time, that type of information we can't release because, like I say, this is an active investigation that we're still deeply into. We're still trying to gather information, even though somebody has been charged already. We were lucky enough with the school's assistance to obtain video and get people to identify who the shooter was for us. But as far as motive and things of that nature, we're still working on that end. So at this point in time, do not wish to comment on that subject. Okay.
This may be a question also for the school system, but what sort of policy or procedures were in place to screen people coming in the building? How did a gun get into the building? Is there any kind of a reader or?
That is something the school will have to address, so, okay.
One thing we can tell you, because it is an ongoing investigation, is that we do not think that the people that were involved, we do believe they knew each other, that they were familiar with one another. It wasn't just a random act of, coming into school and murdering someone. We do know that they knew each other prior to this basketball game.
Usually in the rural towns, we have not, when you usually go to a ball game, you don't usually see that prison mentality where there is a metal detector or someone wanting down kids to come in the game, because it's a family event. It's a school sanctioned event. So we did not have any detectors or any way of knowing, other than having posted, and the adults should have had common sense to know that guns are not welcome on school properties, or you'll be prosecuted to the extent of the law. You can't control what people think and how they do and what they carry, but our kids didn't do it. And that's, as adults, that's who we were trying to govern. To think that adults would do that is just above me. Yeah, and I will share that with you, sir. We did meet, of course, every time something happens, big, small, whatever, we usually have some type of feedback session for ourselves, so we can go back and we can review some of the woulda, coulda, shouldas, didn't. And so what we did was we talked about what's forthcoming and how we are going to look into what they call GoFan. Coach Yarbrough may want to talk to that, but it's an opportunity for students to purchase tickets for the game, before the game, and no cash be on campus. And if you don't have a digital ticket, you can't get in. And it also gives us a roster of everybody who is in the building and at the game. We also are going to heighten the security, because we know we do have to have some way of detecting if weapons are coming in. So we've already worked on that.
Was anyone involved in the shooting? Did they have ties to Humboldt or the school?
When you say involved in the shooting, whether the shooter or the victim, is that what you're saying?
The three and the shooter.
So Justin is a former graduate of Humboldt High School.
And are any of the others involved?
The rest of them are not from Humboldt.
Okay. And did you have any security at?
Yes, we have to have security at all ball games. The big six is what we call them. Football, basketball, soccer, if we had soccer. Yeah, we do have security.
How many personnel?
The security personnel, that particular night we had two. I'm not really sure if Northside brought anybody. They usually bring someone, but I'm not sure if they had anybody that night.
I had a question for.
Can you hold on one second, please?
This will be for the law enforcement or
Okay.
the DA. The two victims that are alive that were shot, were they targeted as well, or were they innocent bystanders?
At this point, after reviewing the security videos supplied to us by the school, we do not believe that they were targeted. We do not believe they were even part of the incident. We think they were just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
One thing I would like to brief y'all on is Xavier Clifton, who was flown to the med, and Chief Abels, if you want to add anything to it, please, please do so. Sergeant Kano with the Humboldt Police Department, if it wasn't for her life-saving measures, he was shot in the neck, and from what we understand now is paralyzed from the neck down. If she had not performed life-saving measures, he's not likely to have survived. So, but for that law enforcement officer being at the right place at the right time and putting her skill set to use to save this young man's life, I'm almost certain he would have been dead.
I don't think I can add much more to that than to say that everyone that was there that night, as far as law enforcement, teaching staff, it was just, I think we've already said it, but everybody worked together so well. And we did everything that we could to make sure that the ones that were there, the victims, the crowds, the teachers, there was a large group in the gym. Of course, there was a game going on. Everyone worked so good together, and the communication was great. And I can't say enough about how much we appreciate everyone that was there that night to help. And we thank the staff of the school so much, because since that time, and because of their help in the community, we're where we're at now with the prosecution and everything. So we want to make sure that we give a shout out to all those agencies that come and help us. Because when I got there, it was just a sea of blue. And for us as law enforcement, when the blue is on the way, or if you see the blue lights, even for us, you know that help is on the way. And we were there. We were so glad to meet with all the help that we had. I wanted to make sure that gets said.
I have a question for law enforcement. In regards to the shooter, did he turn himself in?
Yes, he turned himself in yesterday evening. He sure did. He sure did. He should be in the custody of the Gibson County Detention Center right now.
Did I miss your discussion on whether or not you're saying what the motive is?
Now, as far as motive goes, I think that's part of the investigation, and we wouldn't be able to release anything that we know of right now.
What sort of weapon was used?
We know that there was a gun used in the incident, and that gun has been recovered. So, yes, sir.
So the next step for the defendant, he's been booked in, would be he's constitutionally entitled to a preliminary hearing. Now, obviously, the defendant could waive that preliminary hearing. Our office is going to request that we do have a preliminary hearing. It'll be up to the judge whether or not he wants to have one or not, but we will be requesting a preliminary hearing whether or not the defendant wants one or not. But he's constitutionally entitled to that preliminary hearing. And you all will learn more if you attend the preliminary hearing about what transpired on Tuesday night. Of course, it's a probable cause proceeding. It's not a jury trial, so we just have to put on enough proof to establish probable cause to bound it over to the grand jury. But the next step for the defendant, he'll obviously be arraigned at some point, and then there will be a preliminary hearing set where more information will be available to the public during that hearing.
Do you have an estimated timetable for that hearing?
Well, I would like to have it done in December, but it's up to the judge. This is not a case where our office wants it to spend a lot of time in General Sessions Court, because ultimately we know it's going to end up in Circuit Court, which is our state trial court. We will do everything we can to get a preliminary hearing set and have it heard and get it up to the grand jurors of Gibson County. Also, too, since this is an ongoing investigation, we don't know right now what he's charged with. The charges could increase, and obviously, we may not need to charge it at the grand jury. So that's part of this lower court process. Is our law enforcement agencies are still investigating. We may find additional charges. There may be additional witnesses or victims that come forward. So just so y'all know, when you're out there in that foyer in the lobby, there's probably 25 or 30 people. When the defendant is firing the gun, we potentially have 25 to 30 victims there, because that's, they're obviously in harm's way. So we're trying to, law enforcement's trying to locate as many people that may have been in that lobby on the night of the basketball game.
Of course, we encourage anyone with information, contact the Humboldt Police Department, 731-784-1322. We would appreciate any assistance. Like you said, there's some that may have seen something that we didn't even know were there, or we haven't heard yet their information. And I'd encourage anyone who has information about this case to come forward, give us a call, and we'll get back to you. Thank you.
Assistant Chief, can you just kind of, when he was mentioning other victims,
Other
can you,
victims.
can you kind of talk about the timetable when y'all found out there was a third victim?
I think that was, yeah, it was probably within.
It was, the third
Wow,
victim
okay.
walked into Madison County General Hospital on their own. They were taken there by POV. The hospital called us and informed us they had somebody just came in, and that was probably within 20 minutes of the incident.
Okay,
And he's no longer, he's been released?
yeah.
from-
Non-life,
Non-life.
yes,
Right.
it's minor injuries.
If nobody has any further questions, well, this will conclude our press conference, and we appreciate you coming today. If you have questions after the fact, you have information where you can reach me, and I will do my best to find you the information. If you would like individual interviews, just come forward and we can maybe move to the corners of the room to give you your private interviews with our leaders. So thank you so much for coming.